The Battlehosts. Be a better gamer, build a better community.
Welcome to Battlehosts, a podcast and website dedicated to helping you become a better 40K gamer and to build a better community of players. I'm your host, Mark, and with me tonight is Sean.
Hello.
And back from college, Joe.
Hello.
Joe, you haven't been on for a while. What have you been up to? I said you've been back from college, but you've been gone for months. What's been going on?
I've been in medical school, so I've been pretty busy.
Pretty busy. You're back for the holidays. We're recording this over the holidays. Excellent. But you're going back to college after when you come back again. When are you gonna grace us with their presence again?
In March.
In March. Excellent.
Yeah, I'll be back in March.
Spring break?
Actually, no. So we'll start doing rotations. So we'll
very cool.
come down and be in the hospital and
Awesome.
work in, and it'll be an exciting time.
Sweet. All right. We'll have you back on then. We'll see how things are rolling with Chaos. Because this episode is about Chaos, and it's about Eldar and Psychic Awakening and kind of what that plus Chapter Approved has done for these two armies. If you like what you hear, subscribe to us on iTunes and YouTube to catch all the latest episodes. You can also follow us on Facebook under The Battlehosts. We actually have a YouTube channel going. I've got about just under 20 podcast episodes up there, and I try to go through the rest of the backlog. It's going to take a while to get them all up there, but if you prefer to listen via YouTube, basically they're going to be up there. So subscribe to us on YouTube and iTunes for sure. And if you'd like to support The Battlehosts for as little as $1 a month, please visit patreon.com/thebattlehosts. If you join for $3 a month, you get access to our Discord chat where we discuss all things related to the hobby. In this episode, we're going to talk about Psychic Awakening, Phoenix Rising, and Faith and Fury, and how that has changed both Eldar and Chaos Space Marines. Both of these factions have a lot of new options that are actually pretty good in the tabletop, and as a result of these books, plus the changes in Chapter Approved, you're actually seeing these two armies becoming interesting. You saw Eldar for a while at the more competitive events playing basically flyer spam, which even I didn't play because it's boring. It's just boring.
It's super boring.
It's boring, and I didn't like transporting 9 freaking flyers around. But it's just not that fun. So this whole thing has given some new life to two armies, I think, that have gotten a little bit stale, for sure. Eldar became a one-list army, and Chaos Space Marines, I just don't remember seeing them very often.
Yeah, they kind of dropped off the face of the earth there for a little bit.
They did, unfortunately. But I think they're back now. We have some rules in both volumes of the Psychic Awakening, volumes 1 and 2, and there's going to be some interesting combinations you should try in your next game. And we should talk about, too, is a lot of this stuff in here in the Psychic Awakening books are pretty lore-based. Like, it's really interesting. You could really, really get create very unique, interesting armies with this stuff. These rules are actually kind of cool in a lot of ways. I mean, I'm looking at demon weapons. You can't pronounce any of them, but they're pretty cool. From a lore-based perspective, there's a lot of interesting things now in these two Psychic Awakening books. So, in our Christmas episode, we talked about Space Marines, and we kind of ended on they're just a little too powerful. That's fair to say, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, it's definitely fair.
Yeah, I think most people agree with that.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going on a limb there. The Codex, though, was interesting and powerful, and it actually allows you to create very unique and sort of flavorful armies. We had a teammate post a list online, and it was an Imperial Fist list. And he goes, "What do you think of this list?" And it had a Thunderfire cannon and a Whirlwind, and it had a bunch of intercessors, and it was a really, really strong list. He's talking about this list for a tournament perspective, but if you just read it off, I'm like, well, that seems like an Iron or an Imperial Fist list.
Yeah.
It's super fluffy fit list, but that's really, really strong.
But it was also just really good.
But it was really good. And then to me, I think that's the dream of all fans of a particular faction, is to play an army that kind of feels like that faction and looks like that faction, but is also not going to just get run off the table. Like, it's got some teeth to it. I mean, I think we all want to play fun games, but we also want to do well. Yeah. So I don't know. Most of the listeners contact us and say, I want a list that's good, that is this particular faction, but that has, that won't get shot off the table, but has a little, but it's not so overpowered. It's like that. A lot of people want to play a list that's interesting and tough, but not so overpowered their friends don't want to play with them.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said for, there have been lists in specific books that have been like, oh yeah, that's Chaos Space Marines, but is it really like what you would think of as a Chaos Space Marine army?
Yeah.
Like, if you were like, in 40K, this is what a Chaos Space Marine army looks like.
Yeah.
Instead, it was like, some Daradeos and some like demon princes and then a bunch of cultists. It doesn't feel like if I was designing a Chaos Space Marine army in the fluff and then I put it on the table, this is what it would feel like.
Oh, yeah.
It was very different from that. And so, it's nice when you can be like, okay, this looks like how the army is said to operate.
Yeah.
I use this term from League sometimes when we're talking about this kind of an idea. The power fantasy of that army. What is that army's thing that people play it for that thing?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I think the Chaos Space Marine, the supplement Faith and Fury, like nailed it.
Oh, yeah, totally.
It feels so good. Like just some of the combinations you can use, and each legion actually feels like its own legion. Like I could run a Word Bearers list, I feel like, that's super solid.
Yep.
It feels like it's a Word Bearers list. Like if I was reading, some of the Word Bearers books, like it's going to be in line with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then I could take an Iron Warriors list, two that have been like, those are two factions that have been really boring in the past.
Oh,
in terms of, like what they can do. And now they're super fluffy. They're going to look like you'd expect them to look. They're going to play like you'd expect them to play. And I think that's fantastic.
Yeah, for sure. And I think Craft World too, Craft World Eldar, I'm Eldar is my jam. And honestly, I'm looking at things I never thought I would look at that I used to make sort of like laughingly go, I got 3 of those things. I'm never going to run those again. Now I'm like, I think I might take them to LVO, which is crazy to me. But there you have it.
The list that you told me about before we started recording that you may bring to LVO had so many words that I'm not used to hearing from an Eldar player's mouth. Like I just don't hear them said.
Yeah.
Let alone taken in a list.
Like what is that? Oh yeah. It's this thing that used to be a thing way back in the day.
Yeah. So I love it.
Yeah. All right. Now before we get going, let's hear a word from our sponsor, DGT.
We all love Warhammer 40K, but sometimes games just take too long. Using a game timer is the best way to make sure games finish and for both players to get an equal amount of time. Check out the Easy Game Timer from DGT, manufacturers and designers of the timers officially sanctioned by the International Chess Federation. It's simple to set up and customize, and your settings are saved when it's turned off. It's easy to use with a large moving lever for changing turns and a clear digital readout. It's the most affordable and high-quality game timer on the market and is the choice of most 40K events. Whether you want to practice before a big event or you just want to be a better player, the Easy Game Timer from DGT is the perfect game timer for your 40K events. The DGT Easy Game Timer is available from many online retailers. Wholesale pricing is also available for tournament organizers. Check these fine clocks out at dgtnorthamerica.com. Speed up your game and improve your play with the Easy Game Timer from DGT.
All right, and we're back. So let's talk about Psychic Awakening. And I think what we're seeing with the Psychic Awakening is that if the Space Marine Codex is the next-gen codexes. So, throughout, they had finished the codexes with the release of, I think, Gene Stealer Cult was the last one that came out. Then there was a summer, and then, we knew Sisters of Battle or Adeptus Sororitas were coming out. They I thought Space Marines was kind of a bit of a shock. Like I was not expecting Space Marines to come out with the supplements that they came out with. And it feels like a book for the next edition, which whoever knows what that's going to be. But I think they must have realized that they had made some drastic changes to this codex. And so let's give the rest of the army something before they get their new books. And it feels like Psychic Awakening is like a teaser of different parts of codexes that we will see moving forward.
Yeah, it almost feels like, if there was a proverbial bar for codexes to be like, okay, this is where codexes have to clear just to kind of be a useful codex.
Yeah.
Space Marines came out and raised that bar really high.
Yeah.
And then Psychic Awakening is going back and dragging all the other armies, not quite to that bar.
Yeah.
But close.
Yeah.
And for some of them, arguably maybe clearing that bar.
Yeah.
Just in terms of the amount of options and the amount of things you can do for certain factions.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I don't actually know how many there's supposed to be. So as
5?
As of this recording, we're the last one came out was Blood of Baal, and we have a Dark Angels one that's coming out.
Dark Angels, Grey Knights, and Thousand Suns.
Yes.
Oh yes.
Yeah. So it's going to be really interesting.
So then you're looking forward to that.
Yes, very much so. Very much so.
I'm a little excited for the Thousand Suns one too. I'm curious what they're going to do.
18 psychic trace.
Yeah, well, they said that there's 9 sub-factions, so I don't know what that means, and that's because that's like the fluffy...
The different cults.
Yeah.
There's the 9 cults from 30K, and then, Tzeentch's number is 9, so I don't even want to think about... Hopefully there's not like 9 times 6 psychic powers. That would be like just so overwhelming because you already have so many.
54 psychic powers.
Step right up. Like, yeah, no.
I don't know if that I could write enough rules to make out. Gun to my head, I don't think I could write up. That's way too many.
Did you roll a 12 up? You win the game. Congratulations.
There you go. There's one.
Magnus casting at +4.
We know that there's what's left. So Tower left, Necrons are left, Admech is left.
Yep.
We actually don't know how many books. I don't think they've said here's how many books are coming out.
Yeah, I don't think we know how many books, but they did
thought
say
it was
every
5.
faction was going to get something.
Is it 5? Okay.
Yeah. But maybe not.
So we have.
I don't know.
one
That
more,
number's
maybe.
popping into my head from somewhere.
Yeah.
But you guys aren't confirming, so
I have no idea.
I don't know.
take with massive mountain of salt.
Yeah, because you figure. I mean, let's speculate for a second here. The sisters book will come out here in January/February. The rest of their army will come out. We probably have we have 1, 2, probably maybe 2 more, 3 more of these books.
Yeah.
And then who knows what's going to happen after that? Because again, the codex cycle will have been finished. They'll have released most of the supplements, and so I guess we'll see what's after that. But these, I think, feel like a stopgap's not even the right word. They're almost like a sneak peek of what these books will be getting in
definitely.
the future.
Yeah.
So, and what they're getting is a lot of rules, a lot of interesting rules,
A lot of options.
a lot of options, almost too many. Like so many that it's a lot. Going through the chaos one, preparing for this episode, my head almost exploded. There's so much there. But it does allow you to really get fine-tuned and create something interesting. You can go for crunchy. I want to make the most heavily efficient, optimized list for competitive play, or you can back off and say, I want to create this narrative lore-based thing, and it kind of supports both. So, for some of the factions, not all of them, we'll get into that. Chapter Approved also had a ton of points reductions, and Chaos Space Marines got
Gleaned up.
almost across the board. I don't think did anything go up? Everything went down, like way down.
Thousand Sons Demon Princes, which technically aren't Chaos Space Marines, but
It's true.
they went up. Otherwise, pretty much everything else.
You
Everything
mean those
went-
models that were in every Chaos Space Marine list?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, those ones went
Those,
up. Yeah.
those ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
But
then,
yeah, they're not Space Marines.
and then
you're
for Eldar, the Crimson Hunters went up, but everything else,
Yeah.
most of it either stayed the same or went down.
Yep.
So you saw a lot of points reductions, and I think it's funny because we were worried, oh, well, they printed this 6 months ago, it's not going to affect it. But it actually kind of came at just the
It did
right
good.
time.
Yeah.
The timing of these books plus the points was actually really nice. So, yeah, I think it worked out really well. Now, let's talk about Phoenix Rising, and we're going to talk about Craftworld and Drukhari and Yunari. Let's get into Asturani or Craftworld. So the Phoenix Rising has Jane Czar and Banshees, which the rules were slightly tweaked, but I still think they're not nearly as good as they could be.
Yeah, they're not screaming at me to take them.
Yeah.
If I was an Eldar player.
Yeah, the strength is
The strength
killer.
It's a killer. Strength 3 is a killer.
like strength 4 feels really bad. Like if we're
Yeah.
gonna be honest.
Yep.
Like you charge into a lot of things, you're like, God, I'm strength 4. This is awful. And like
Yeah.
when you're 3, it's even like it's just universally worse.
Yeah.
Against like the common,
Yeah.
just the army that is being played right now. You're
Space
winning on
Marines.
5s,
Yeah.
right? Like, and
Yeah.
that's kind of the baseline.
Yeah.
Is there's really not that much T3 out there, and if it is, it's a catechin mostly.
Yeah.
and so he's going to try to beat you in the face.
Yeah. He's punching harder than
And
you.
-3 is great, but 1 damage is
Yeah.
just not. It's not cutting it. And the no Overwatch thing is really good. So to me, Banshees are not a real like combat unit. They're more like a tie things up
Yeah.
unit or bad touch
utility.
unit. That's essentially what they do. But they're a little weak. And Janes are the Phoenix Swords do not have invul saves, which I don't quite understand that. But if she had an invul save, it'd be a little more interesting.
Yeah,
But,
Yeah, that is.
I feel like they're
odd.
supposed to be the combatants that kind of like dance around their foes, and they don't matter. It doesn't matter how big their foes are.
Yeah.
right. Like that's kind of the archetype of these like super nimble combatants.
Yeah.
is that they're like, I don't care that you're massive. I'm going to be striking at your joints and
Yeah.
slicing your hamstrings and
Yeah.
taking you apart. In fact, you don't want to be big against these kind of people all
Yeah.
the times. But
Yeah.
in the rules, they've never been able to.
they've never really made.
You want to
that
be
work.
big against them. Like Centurions are like, "Ah!" and then like wander into them and crush them with their fists.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
how How Centurions are catching banshees? I don't know, but they just pop heads.
Did you ever watch the Dawn of War 2 trailer, like for the first one?
Yeah.
The dreadnought that like pops out behind the rock wall.
Oh yeah, and totally
grabs
just
the banshee, just like
flames
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
That's
I
the
think-
tabletop.
exactly.
Yeah, but that also has, I mean, that is such a great trailer because it shows off all the different aspect warriors and how cool they are. with
yeah.
Marines.
That trailer was
very cool.
great.
That to
Very
me
cool.
is like all Eldar players and Space Marine players, like, that's how I want my army to play. That's
Yes.
exactly it. And they have tried to do that with Aspect Warrior Shrines. So the Aspect Warrior Shrines, basically, every Aspect Warrior Exarch has a like a rule they have, like a power. And what these are a list of 5 powers for each of the shrines that you can take. You can either replace the existing basically ability they have, or you can get both with 1 CP. So you can keep their existing ability and then get another one with a 1 CP. Some of the favorites of these, Dire Avengers have something called Blade Storm. So the Dire Avengers Exarch has like something like an invul save or something like that, which is kind of cool. But honestly, I think Dire Avengers just want to be shooting a lot of shuriken, frankly.
That's always been their job.
That's what they do. And so the Blade Storm power is you have an Exarch when resolving an attack. An unmodified roll of 6 scores 1 additional hit. So you take a unit of 5 Dire Avengers, you give the Exarch 2 of their Avenger Shuriken catapults. That's 12 shots. 6s are additional hits. You're averaging, 10 to about 10 hits, basically, depending on if it's not buffed. And that's really, really good for a weapon that has rending on 6s as well.
Yeah, and they're
for
pretty
wounding.
cheap.
They're super, like 58 points.
Yeah.
For these guys. I've been running 2 units inside a Wave Serpent. It's like 2 units of 5. And they pop out and they actually do some damage because Blade Storm's not bad. I think the Dire Avenger Blade Storm's really cool. The Dark Reapers actually got a points drop. So they're back to where not quite where they were when the Codex came out. But the Ynnari taxes no longer exist anymore. They're only shooting once. They're not shooting twice anymore.
Yep, that makes them a lot more manageable.
It totally does. And they have 2 really cool ones. One is Rapid Shot, which if you give the Exarch the Reaper launcher, he can actually attack twice, shoot an additional shot with it.
Yep.
So essentially, you're getting an additional, like an extra Dark Reaper shot. And I kind of like this because the Tempest launcher, which everyone loves, there's one called Rain of Death where you can re-roll the number of shots for Tempest Launcher. Tempest Launcher is an indirect fire, but it's 36 inches. I kind of like keeping the Dark Reapers at about 48.
Yeah.
So if you give them the Tempest Launcher, they've got to get within 36 to start shooting that thing off. I kind of like keeping them all the way back right at the edge of 48 inches and just give them an additional shot with Rapid Shot. So
I do love that 2 of these buffs for Dark Reapers are intended to be used for melee. Like that is I actually like that. Like Dark Reapers are supposed to you look at their Phoenix Lord. He has a massive Reaper.
Oh,
or
he does,
massive
yeah.
scythe, I mean.
That's
you
true.
know, like he's there to reap souls also in melee, right?
have a
And
3-up armor.
you never see that
Yeah.
represented on them, but like 2 of these are like, no, you want to get close to people. Minus leadership and then deadly touch. When resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by this unit's Dark Reaper Exarch, if you wound roll of 6, it inflicts 2 mortal wounds on the target in addition to any other damage. So unmodified wound roll of 6. Like that's fun.
Yeah.
Put Doom on something, go get that Exarch in there, cause mortal wounds. Like, I mean, it's not good, but just
But
It's decent
cool.
counter charge too. I mean, because a lot of times,
once Dark Reapers get charged,
they're not having a good day. But I feel like a lot of times when I'm playing, it's never a large unit that gets to touch them.
Yeah.
No.
It's always something pretty small, and you're like
the remnants
"Please
that are
don't kill me.
crawling
Please don't
through the
kill me."
explosions.
Yeah, exactly. But 2 mortal wounds would ruin your day. So and that's not awful.
It's just a fun kind of demonstration of the fact, like you were saying, you can make some really fun stuff here. Like,
Oh yeah.
and
Well,
that's a
it's-
good indication.
well, it's interesting too, like the Fire Dragons. We should point out, like I pointed out a couple interesting ones, but you're right. I put it at the more competitive versions, but there's every single one of these has both the melee and a shooting threat. So the Fire Dragons one, there's Dragon's Bite. While this unit contains a Fire Dragon Exarch, at the start of your shooting phase, you can change the type characteristic of this unit's fusion guns to Pistol 1 until the end of that phase. So if they get tagged in combat, they just turn their pistols, fusion guns into pistols, and go to town.
And fire them at faces.
Fire
That's
them
fun.
at fire 'em at faces. So so you can really get interesting if you wanted to create more of a melee focused aspect warrior. And you can pick 2. So you can use the CP. You can actually pick the. You could use the one they have and then another one of these here. So you're not locked out of that necessarily. I think the Swooping Hawks one, I think that is pretty good is Swooping Barrage. The Swooping Hawks have grenades that can toss and do mortal wound damage. When this unit contains a Swooping Hawk Exarch, add one of the rolls made for this grenade pack ability. Basically, you're grenading on 5s, which is pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Because they drop down, they do a little mortal wounds, they go behind cover. They've got their strength 3 shots. They got a lot of shots. They can pretty much take down like a little... Between that and their shooting, they usually do pretty good about taking out those little units that are kind of sitting on objectives and such like that. Shining Spears, this one is a little bit gross, actually, because it has what's called Skilled Rider. And Skilled Rider, you can give the Shining Spear Exarch a 3+ invulnerable save against ranged, keeping in mind that you have Protect as well. And so Protect increases the save for infantry and bike units. That means your Shining Spear Exarch can get a 2+ inful save.
Yeah, you're just tanking.
You're just tank and tank and tank and tank, and you don't care.
Is it just +1 to your save then? Or is
it's always +1 to save. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Protect.
So it works like the...
It's the opposite of Jinx.
Like Zinch.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like their buff, where it's +1 to save instead of like...
+1 to your
increasing
armor
your
save.
invulnerable save.
Yeah. So it's rough. It's rough. It really makes the Shining Spears tanky.
Yeah.
Because right now, without the Yunari crutch of like hiding behind cover when they kill something, they could be out there kind of exposed, but you can kind of move them mid-board and kind of tank some stuff and then move in the second turn or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's solid.
And then Crimson Hunters have Hawkeye, and Hawkeye is basically you are not suffering the penalty for firing heavy weapons. Funny thing about Crimson Hunters, they have a ballistic skill of 2, but they have heavy weapons. So when they move, they're hitting on 3s. But this basically means that your Crimson Hunters Exarchs are hitting on 2s at all times, or their ballistic skill is 2.
Yes.
Which is pretty good, and it's actually better than rerolling 1s, which is what they normally get, statistically speaking.
Yeah. No, it's true.
And you can also give them Evade, which just gives them a 5-up invul. So you could give them a Evade. So a 5-up invul is not bad for Crimson Hunter Exarch because they don't have any other invul, right? So it's actually a pretty good way to keep them alive a little bit.
And if you wanted to pay the CP, you could also give one of them both.
Yep.
Hit on 2s and reroll 1s.
Yep.
And if you want to be really silly, you can give them aerial maneuvering, and now they're moving 270 degrees every turn because they can turn 180 degrees at the beginning. You don't need it, like Vector Dancer gives you everything you need, but
that's funny because you go across the board and then you come right back.
You already do that, but now you can add in an extra half rotation for no reason. Why not?
Yeah, and the other one I like is Warp Spiders. Web of Deceit. Once per battle in your movement phase, if it contains an Exarch, you can instead of you can make a warp jump instead of moving normally. You remove it and then place it somewhere within 9 inches, but outside of 9 inches of any model. So it's kind of nice to be able to sort of basically take a unit of Warp Spiders and toss them somewhere else they want.
Yeah, that's great.
Warp Spiders are still a little rough. They're not.
They're not great.
They're not that great. They're expensive, but this is kind of cool because that means Eldar don't hold objectives for more than a turn.
Yeah.
They have a temporary hold on objectives and then they're gone. So this is kind of a nice way to reposition some things.
Yeah, and it'd be fun to use them kind of as like edge board flankers where they're striking at like the smaller squads and then they reposition to get another smaller squad.
Yeah.
Kind of like picking
kind
off
of
the edges.
Can you use that if you're in combat?
Oh. Once per battle in your movement phase, you can make a warp jump instead of moving normally. Remove this unit from... Yeah, it doesn't say you can't.
No, that's all. And then do you pick those in list building or do you pick those at the start of the game?
So that kind of depends. I mean, basically, let's see. It doesn't actually say that you... Because
it'd be an army building, I think.
Well, but the stratagem is before the battle.
Yeah, the stratagem is before the battle.
But the rest are in list building. Okay.
Yeah. So it would... Wow, that would actually really be kind of interesting. I don't know how many events would let you do that. I imagine most of them want you to pick it. But that would be super cool if you could.
Yeah, so Chaos Knights can just be a real nightmare, like in terms of bookkeeping.
Yeah.
Similar to like how that would be. At the beginning of the game, you're like, okay, so, what thing do I want to spend on what night? And then you have to like write it down because you'll forget. And then you're generating all of the bonuses because all of them can be the fancy, like, I forget what they're called for the regular ones, but basically you're getting like two traits for each night. There's bonuses and negatives, and you have to keep track of. And then they're modifying like leadership, and it's a nightmare. So.
Yeah. Versus Imperial Knights is like, what relic / warlord trait do I want? How many do I get? And
exactly,
and
you're done.
Yeah. So another thing that Phoenix Rising has is custom craft worlds, and custom craft worlds are really, really good because right now the only thing you ever saw was Aelia Talk for craft worlds. -1 is really just universally some of the best stuff, but now it's much like the Space Marines where you can choose two. And a lot of these options are as good as the Space Marine options. In fact, some of them are almost exactly like the Space Marine options. In fact,
very similar.
And so, which means they're good. There means that there's definitely some play here. So some of the first one that jumps right out, and I should say that oftentimes you're probably going to be taking custom craft worlds if you are playing Craft World Eldar now. And the first one is Expert Crafters, which is commonly known as the Salamander's trait. It's that you reroll Expert Crafters. When the unit fires Overwatch or is choosing to shoot or fight with, you can reroll a single hit roll and you can reroll a single wound roll. That is really good. It adds up a lot, especially when you have Eldar who have kind of low volume, super high quality shots. Rerolling just one of those every time makes a huge difference, a big difference. So
absolutely.
We're seeing things like Eldar missile launchers for the first, I haven't seen those in forever because they're only a single shot weapon. But if you get to reroll those things, they're pretty powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Expert Crafters is the one you see a lot. You have Masters of Concealment, which you get cover outside of 12. That means you can take something like, a Wraith Lord and has a 2-up, basically 3-up armor with a 2-up with cover. Masterful Shots ignores cover, so that's the flip side of it. You kind of see Expert Crafters with either concealment or either they get cover or they ignore cover.
Yep.
One of the ones I like is Children of Prophecy. Psychic test ones are always 2s. What this means is Eldar, and I'll get to this in a second, you can make it so Eldar cannot fail a psychic test. Like it literally cannot fail one. So
that's solid.
If you have a detachment where all 1s are always 2s, that means the minimum you can roll is a 4. If you have a Farseer and a Warlock, you can use the Seer Council strat to get to 5. So at the very minimum you can roll is a 5. There is a psychic power that you replace Smite with called Focus Will, which gives a +2 to cast, which means the minimum you can roll would be a 7.
Yeah.
So you take a Runes of Battle power, like, I don't know, Quicken or
hold on.
Protect.
So Focus Will is only for Deny the Witch.
It was, but the FAQ came out and changed
I didn't
it.
realize
Yes.
that. Okay.
So
Okay. Very nice. Very nice.
So that
Very
is what gets confusing now. The FAQ came out and made a whole change, and that was a big deal because they wrote it as, it denies on a +2. You're like, well, who cares about that?
Yeah.
But it actually changed, the FAQ changed it to +2 to cast.
And now you have a 7.
Now you have a 7.
You really need that power to go off. Okay. Well,
And you really, really
it
want
succeeds.
Protect/Jinx to go off, for example. Now that requires a Warlock and a Farseer, requires a Seer Council strat, and it requires this Children of Prophecy, but you take a Supreme Command detachment and you basically take any Eldar power that you need to get off, it's going to go off. With the exception of, if you're playing against Khorne, because they have Iron Hands, or Graya, or Black Templars. I'm sorry, not Iron Hands. Yeah, Iron Hands. Black Templars, and I think Sisters have the strats where they shut psychic powers on a 4.
Yeah.
So that's kind of a bad day right there. It also doesn't mean it can't be denied. Too.
Yeah, it can.
So it can still be denied with you're in range. But
Yeah, well, and it's not really that big of a sacrifice to have one model with that focus willpower, because you're always going to have one psyker that's not ever in smite range.
Yeah.
Like not every Eldar psychic character is going to be in smite range. So you don't care. You're like, get rid of smite.
And Warlocks have the baby smite anyways.
Yeah.
So Warlocks are probably going to be taking Focus Will for the most part. There's also one called Headstrong, which is added the charge roll, which is pretty good. I mean, if you want to take a melee focused kind of list. And then the Children of the Open Skies is +2 to advance when you have fly units. And so again, I think you take a Supreme Command detachment with a Farseer and a Warlock on 2 Warlocks on bikes. You put them in. You give them Children of Prophecy and Children of Open Skies. They can advance to +2. They can get wherever they want to do their powers, and they can cast really reliably. So that's kind of the cool Supreme Command detachment. I kind of think that Runes of Battle powers are some of the stronger ones, but they're really not easy to get off with Warp Charge 7.
Yeah.
So, but yeah. So those are the custom craft worlds. There's a lot of other ones here, but for the most part, I think you get to see expert crafters in either I get cover or I ignore cover, and then you might see a detachment where they have the plus to cast.
Very cool.
The Runes of Fortune is kind of what we're talking about. Was it replaces Smite and Focus Will. Essentially is a +2 to cast, although the book says +2 to deny. There's one called Ghost Walk, which is what is Ghost Walk? Goes +2 to charge. So if you have a unit with Headstrong and you give somebody Ghost Walk, it's +3 to charge. It's only a 6-inch range, but it's pretty good. And then there's Impair Senses, which is kind of one of those, you're seeing a lot of those now, is you can't target this unless it's the closest model kind of thing.
Yeah, which is they really are just giving this effect out. Like,
Yeah.
my
They
God.
really are, yeah.
Like, it was a very strong effect when it was just Death Guard and just Death Guard. I think it was just
I
Death
think
Guard
it
that
was
had it.
just Death Guard for a while.
Yeah.
Does that work on anything, or is it just infantry?
Yeah, so impair senses, if manifested, select one enemy unit within 18 inches, invisible to the psyker, until the start of your phase. When that unit is choosing to shoot with, so you're picking an enemy unit, models in that unit can only target the closest visible enemy unit unless the target of the attack is within 18 inches.
It's swapped. It's
Swapped,
not,
yeah.
this is a unit that you can't shoot at.
Oh, yeah, it's
the
a
flip-
It's
flip
the
side of
that
closest.
unit, so you just pick their...
The strongest one.
It's an,
That's
it's an
not bad,
interesting-
though. Yeah,
No.
that's...
Yeah.
Because there's going to be some alpha shooting unit. And these are, powers, especially if you pick them before the game, you can kind of point to going, yeah, I think I'll do
Well,
that.
and I'm going to point out that Hemlocks have Smite.
Yeah.
Yep,
so a
they do.
Hemlock can have that.
Yes, it
And
can.
use it against an opponent. That's
can.
That's saying you're either shooting my Hemlock that's going to have lightning reflexes, or you're not shooting anything.
Yeah.
So that,
What's interesting is you can only target it within 18 inches, and Hemlock has, their guns are 16, I think.
yeah, so they're going to be in range.
They're going to be in range.
They're going to be there,
They'll fly
and
up.
they're going to be the unit that would be the closest.
Yeah.
And then you just...
And especially if they're Aliatok, because
Yeah.
they don't have to be custom
Nope.
craftable for this.
Nope.
Oh, that's a good point, Sean. I didn't even think
You,
about that.
you can bump that up to 36 with Seer Council, though, too, right?
If you
no. Yes, you can.
Yeah.
You can do that
Yeah.
with it. Yes.
Yeah, totally.
You
So
can.
that's even more range, too.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, too, is the Warlock Conclave unit. By the way, the points went down for
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
So Warlocks are cheaper now. And a Conclave, unfortunately, is not a character. So it's going to get Thunderfire Cannon off the board if you go to a competitive event. But you get that one. Basically, you get a turn to get Jinx off. I don't know, whatever it is you want. Like I can get a Jinx off at 36 inches, and that thing is almost guaranteed. It can be guaranteed. That's almost worth it in a lot of ways if it's against some unit builds.
Yeah.
So,
And you can also park them in a Wave Serpent.
yeah. And yeah, they jump
And
out.
the wave Serpent's probably not going to die before the Thunderfire Cannon wants to shoot. Or it might. I mean, it depends on what you're playing against. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no one wants to shoot Wave Serpents.
No.
it's not fun.
It's a feel bad.
It's a feel bad for sure. But with the new points drops and these new rules, some of the things that I've been thinking of, and a lot of people online you're seeing these Warlock Skyrunners and Conclaves we talked about. Hornets. Hornets dropped in points, so for like 100 points, you can get a Hornet with two Hornet pulse lasers. 105 points, you give them the Ghost, what do you call it? Oh, the Matrix, the Crystal Targeting Matrix. So you can move and not suffer heavy penalties as long as it's shooting the nearest model. And Hornets move like 16 inches, so they're fast.
Yeah.
Wasps, which are deep striking war walkers and can fly, so they can't get wrapped in combat. Wraith Blades are like a unit of 10 Wraith Blades is 350 now. They're down
not-
100
not so
points
bad,
for 10.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
a
that's-
lot.
They're 4 wounds each? Or
They're three. They're
okay,
but they're
okay.
T6.
Yeah,
Yeah.
T6 is the big one.
4 up invul. And
I always think they're T5, then I fire at them. Like, no, they're T6. I'm like,
T6 is nice. Night Spinners, they're not. There's no points change, but they're good, especially when you can ignore cover with them now. Warwalkers are good. Wraith Lords of all things. Vibro Cannons for some darn reason went down. And
yeah.
Vibro Cannons are really
they're
good.
so good.
Reapers and Shining Spears again. So if you want to break out your old Yunari list, but run it like a true craft world and not cheat with Yunari double activations. There's a lot of cool stuff. So you could ignore cover. So for example, like a Spearhead of masterful shots and ignoring cover, you can put in some combination of Reapers or Falcons or Vibro Cannons or Night Spinners.
Yeah.
You could do a no fail Psychic Supreme or a Supreme Command Detachment no fail with Warlocks and Farseers.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can always Wraith Lords always in cover. You can do Headstrong Wraith Blades that drop because you want them to deep strike. They can always basically +3 to charge. It's pretty good with the reroll.
Oh yeah,
That's not
definitely.
bad at all.
And also, you're probably giving him Quicken or not Quicken. What's the
Protect.
Protect? But the one that makes him more deadly in close combat.
Empower.
Yeah, empower that
yeah,
one.
yeah.
Giving him empower, buffing him up, sending him into the enemy. That's fun.
They do pretty good, and they're decent. So there's a lot of interesting options now, and we're seeing a lot of people bringing in kind of more fluffy looking Eldar, Craft World Eldar lists.
Yeah.
I mean, Falcons. I never thought I'd see Falcons hit the table, but they're pretty good. And Wraith Lords for that matter.
Yeah.
So,
Which is so much fun. Wraith Lords have always been so cool.
yeah, they're one of my favorite models. So that's the thing I think that what we're seeing with these additional rules is that the flip side is there's a lot more stuff to remember, but you're seeing lists that are actually interesting. Kind of like when our teammate posted about the Imperial Fist list, and we're like, wow, that's really strong, and it's really, really fluffy.
Really good.
You could do the same with Eldar, and I think you see if this is just probably 75% of their next codex, and they can do a little more, you could see these things kind of fall in line with what Space Marines are right now.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
Definitely.
Then in Phoenix Rising, we have Drukhari, and wow, this was a miss. This was kind of a miss.
Yeah.
They basically gave them new obsessions, and so they're kind of a build your own craft world, but you can build your own Cabal or Cult or Homunculus Coven. The problem is that they already have really good ones, and so these are competing.
You don't want to replace those other ones.
You don't want to replace them. There's nothing in here that's super really interesting. Cabal, the Black Heart, and Flayed Skull for more of the hipster type Drukhari players, or what's the one that has the additional range? That's another good one too.
Obsidian Rose.
Obsidian Rose.
Yeah.
None of these really.
They don't quite match up to those.
They do not match up to these.
Yep.
Soul Mobile Raiders isn't bad because you get an additional movement, but Drukhari's already kind of fast. So
they very rarely need an additional 3 inches on their fly. Their fly is already insanely fast.
I know.
Yeah. And Soul Bond isn't bad because the Inured to Suffering roll, you reroll ones, which isn't too bad. But and then if you don't have the Power from Pain ability, instead gain it. So it's not horrible. Soul Bond or Bound. Toxin Crafters is not bad either. Kind of. You can when you have a poison weapon, an unmodified wound roll of 6, add 1 to the damage characteristic.
Yeah.
But poison weapons are,
and you're shitting out a lot of poison.
Yeah. Sorry. But honestly, they're just not, you're not replacing the other ones with these.
No, you're not. You're not.
And a lot of the funny Cabal ones are melee focused, which is like you're not really getting into combat with Cabal.
And then you go to the Homunculus Coven. I'm sorry, I skipped the witch obsessions. And that is a mistake. There is some play with witches. And we've had readers or listeners, not readers, listeners write in and say, hey, here are some witch units that I like using.
Yeah.
I feel like you're still not seeing a ton of them.
No,
With these,
well, they have the feels bad about strength 3 still.
Yeah, they do.
And like you can get around that a little bit, make them strength 4, but then they're still toughness 3.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
and it's
they
an
cost more than a
obsession.
cat a
It's an obsession in the Codex that makes them strength 4.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, well, now I'm opting into that strength 3, and I get some other cool effects, but
yeah. The one that I like is the acrobatic display. With the model with this obsession, it's invulnerable save. If it's within 1 inch of an enemy unit, its invulnerable save goes up.
yeah,
That one is good.
The witches
really good.
lock down a unit, and then they have like a 4 up, and the succubus I think goes to 3 up. I mean, that's pretty gross. It's a gross tar pit unit, which is kind of what they do.
And you can't fall back from them either.
They can't
because
fall
they have
back
the nets.
if they take the nets. Yeah.
So they're cool utility, but I don't think you're going to see a lot of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. These feel like you might build small little detachments for these things for specific units. It's not like the Craft World ones where I want to build an entire army that does this cool thing.
Yeah.
And then the Covens. Go ahead in the Covens.
Well, none of them are a 4+ invul.
Yes.
Like I open and I go, are any of these going to be a 4+ invul? No. Okay. Well. Also, Uriel's in that.
Exactly. Yeah,
in that
Marth is so
faction.
good with the 4 up.
Yeah, without the 4 up, if your grotesque do not have a 4 up, it's not that interesting.
It gets a lot harder.
Yeah. But you know what you can take? You can take Venoms and Raiders with Covens. And some of these are really interesting for Venoms and Raiders, which is weird.
Yeah.
So the Artist of the Flesh, when resolving... you can only take this one. Resolving an attack against a unit with this obsession, subtract 1 from the damage characteristic. So you can turn your Venoms and your Raiders into Wave Serpents.
Yeah. Which is very annoying.
It's
Yeah,
very annoying.
They're already really obnoxious to kill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the -1 and the 5+ invuln on such a cheap model. Yeah. Reduce it by 1 just...
So if you want to take just a Coven list, you could take your vehicles and your racks give them this.
Yeah.
And then you give the profits for the dudes on foot, like the Talos and the Grots, and then you could make something kind of interesting, I think. Yeah. Experimental Creations and Dark Technomancers are the other 2 combos. Like Dark Technomancers, when it shoots, you can enhance the ranged weapons of this unit. If you do until the end of the phase, add 1 to the wound roll and add 1 to the damage of that for that weapon for that attack. So 1 + 1 to wound + 1 to damage isn't bad. However, unmodified wound rolls of 1, actually the target suffers a mortal wound. So,
it's like overcharging.
It's essentially overcharging. Yeah. Experimental Creations, you add 1 to the strength characteristic. And when resolving an attack made with poison weapons, if against a unit that has a lower toughness, add 1 to the wound roll. So poison on a 4 is okay, but poison on a 3 is pretty good, especially if you're shooting against something that has a lower toughness. Which, again, if you've got Venoms, I think they're T5. I said that with a little bit of confidence.
Yeah,
I think they're T5.
Yeah, they're T5.
And then
They're
Raiders,
T5.
I think, are T6.
Yeah, they are.
So if shooting at Marines and things like that with 3-up poison weapons, it's not bad.
It's interesting.
It's not bad. You're not
I'd
going
argue
to
that
cover.
that's how poison should work all the time.
Yeah.
I'd argue that.
Probably. I mean,
Yeah.
you have some instances where it's actually better just to use the regular strength of those guns than to shoot
Yeah.
low
Yeah.
toughness models. Which
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
like really like Nurglings, things like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
You're like,
exactly.
I guess I'll just not use the poison rule because
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense to. So
Yeah.
I don't think you can opt to turn it off anymore, can you?
No, I think it just happens.
maybe you can.
Because it's just part of the
No, you
weapon
can't.
profile.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's right.
You can't.
That's
you used
right.
to be
you
able
can't.
to.
Oh, I'm thinking close combat.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
Like
instead of
rats
using poison weapons,
things
just
like that.
smacking them with your
default close combat weapon.
Just
Yeah.
slapping them in the
Yeah,
face
yeah,
with your hands. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't need poison. It's just going to make it worse to hurt you. But truthfully, I think Drukhari, I just don't know that much has changed from a gameplay perspective. I don't. And from a points perspective, the Archons went down. The Disintegrators are still weirdly cheap. Ravagers and Razor Wings went up. But honestly, Drukhari is interesting. I kind of figured they would be really good against Marines, but we're not seeing that. I think they still have such a great codex. They're still fun and playable, but
It's just when you're already paper.
yeah.
And then the Marines get better at shooting through things. And
With
paper
bolters.
falls under the heading of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're just dying to bolters.
Yeah.
It feels
Yeah.
bad.
And I think one of the things too is Marines, at least in my opinion, have always been sort of reliable in terms of they have a lot of rerolls and things like that that can really help them out.
Yeah.
They're not previously they weren't super stratagem reliant.
Yeah.
And none of those things really changed. They just gave them extra stuff
Yeah.
on top of all those things. So it's like they're just so much better now.
Yep.
You know, even like bolters, like we said,
Yeah.
you know, with Rend, they're still rerolling ones to wound.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so it's just that much better.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And granted, a lot of Drukhari stuff have invols, but you're kind of pushing up against those invols just about with almost everything, with just bolters for the most part. Yeah. So, not much has changed. I kind of think that the Phoenix Rising was a bit of a whiff for Drukhari. The Craft World's got lots of cool, interesting things.
Yep.
And the points drops made a lot of interesting things. I think Drukhari are kind of the same as they were.
Yep.
Then we have Yunari, and Yunari is not the same as Yunari of old. I actually think Yunari play really well, though, if you take Yvrain. And because you can take the characters and put them in a detachment, it doesn't make any difference. So Yvrain running around with a bunch of Psychers just throwing out a couple mortal wound powers is not bad. The Incarn is actually, he went down in points. He's beastly.
He's efficient. He'll blow things up.
Yeah, and he's fast, and he has that weird movement shenanigans where you can move where people have died. And so if you want to play with the Incarn, he's kind of fun in a list with a lot of like mobility. So I kind of like taking those individual characters and kind of slotting them into Eldar list versus building a Yunari list, just because I'm not a huge fan of just the way what they've done with Yunari. So, but yeah, that's that. Yeah. Okay, so that is Eldar, and unfortunately there's no Harlequins here, which is a bummer. Because the Harlequins went down in points big time. The troops are much cheaper.
So, they just need a little bit more help.
They just need a little more help.
They're a limited faction.
Just a little bit.
They're haywire. That's what they are.
I mean, they kind of almost remind me of Death Guard in terms of like,
they
have units and they got a codex and then GW kind of stopped.
They stopped sort of doing things for them.
Yeah. And so it doesn't feel like it's a full faction yet. And so I think maybe once they get some more units and some things like that, then that'll help them out like beyond 4 data sheets. I think they have more characters than other units in their
it's pretty
codex.
lacking.
Yeah, so that's a little bit disappointing.
Yeah, they need some help.
There is no elite slot. It's just they just have the elite slots are the characters, but they don't have enough. Yeah, right.
Yep.
All right, so that is Eldar. Let's talk about Faith and Fury, and let's talk about a faction that has a ton of stuff, which is Chaos Space Marines.
Oh yeah,
which we talked about. Chaos Space Marines have a handful of older models, but they've got a lot of really good new plastics out now. So this is a very supported line.
Oh yeah,
and they just got a ton of stuff.
It's a good time to be a Chaos Space Marine player.
There's just
very
options.
good time.
I agree. I felt a lot more loved this edition than I did last edition.
Oh,
where
yeah.
I
Oh, yeah,
didn't
totally.
get a new codex as Chaos Space Marines.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the whole edition,
Yeah. And you've gotten 2 so far with this. I'm kidding.
yeah, they made up for it.
Yeah. So we should also point out too that the Last Vigilist book had all chaosy stuff with like the Purge, and there's a lot of interesting things there, especially if you want to run Renegade stuff.
Well, and that's why Black Legion isn't in this.
Yeah.
Because they already got Vigilus. They got that section in Vigilus, so this is everybody else. pretty much.
And if you're playing Chaos too, you can have the benefit of making your opponent's eyes bleed because you're describing all these different combos and rules and stuff, and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Just tell me what you got.
Yeah, just show me when you're doing it.
I assume what you're doing because there's so much stuff. So right off the bat, Chaos Space Marines got Malicious Follies, which is Bolter Discipline, which is good. They got Hateful Assault, which is +1 attack first turn of combat. I'll just say first turn of combat. I don't know why they don't just say first turn of combat, but essentially that's what it means.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, part of it though is that if you get charged again, then I guess technically it's like the first turn for the other unit. But
For the new
so
combat, but
that's
yeah,
true.
it just
just clarifies it a little bit.
That's true.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
refreshes.
It's fine they write it in actual clear English because somebody would say, if I just said, first turn of combat, they go, well, which turn is it? Yeah, got it. Basically, with Faith and Fury, they have a whole list of demon weapons, which you can't pronounce.
Yes.
And every legion, minus except for Black Legion, got traits, stratagems, and relics.
Yeah.
So it is a full-on thing.
Yeah, it's like the second half of the Codex.
Yeah.
Is really what it feels like.
Yeah, and so if the Eldar Craft World got a new psychic tree, aspect stuff for their Exarchs, and build your own craft world, then you see the Chaos Space Marines, okay, here's what they're going to get.
Yeah.
They're getting these things, which are traits, stratagems, relics for the different legions. The traits did not change, unfortunately. It would have been nice if they had updated the Legion traits because, okay, I have to point it out. They still don't apply to vehicles. They're still like they're not as good as the updated Space Marine chapter traits.
A lot of them do feel kind of bad. Well, most of them feel bad.
Most of them do. You're
All of them but one feel bad.
well, you're funny because you're in the spot where now like you don't even care what the Legion trait is. You're going for
yeah.
Warlord traits, stratagems, and relics now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, whatever. I don't get whatever. It doesn't matter. Although Alpha Legion's probably happy that theirs did not change. So
Yes.
much
Yeah,
happier
theirs
with
is still really solid.
You actually have to use these stratagems, you have to have a detachment of the same legion. So you have to create a detachment of this legion to get access to the stratagems. Although I think you can use the traits and the relics regardless in a mixed detachment.
Traits you can't. Traits are locked in. So you have to have
a pure detachment.
pure detachment. Yeah.
Warlord traits though.
Warlord traits are not. Relics are not either.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you could do a mixed detachment if you wanted to.
And you can get really cute too if you have like a pure like Night Lord's detachment someplace, and then you have a mixed detachment with some Night Lord's characters in there.
Yeah.
Then you can still use those stratagems on them too. So you can kind of get around some of those things.
Now, before we jump into this, there were a ton of points drops. Cultists went back to 4.
Thank God.
Yes, which is good.
Merry day. They had no reason to be at 5.
No.
And I say that as somebody that hates playing into a bunch of cultists, but they had no reason to be 5.
Well, and especially when they went down to 30-man too instead of 40-man.
Yeah, they got hit like 4 times.
Chaos Space Marines down to 11 points. And bear in mind, Chaos Space Marines got the Malicious Follies / Bolter and +1 attack.
Yeah, they are worth it.
They're interesting now. Chosen are down to 12 points. And Chosen, you can put whatever weapons you want on those guys.
Yeah, it's a very interesting day.
Why they don't have a new kit for Chosen, I don't know. In fact, the Dark Vengeance box set is being re-released, which is still a great box set with these awesome Chosen models that have these weird weapon options. I'm like, why didn't they come out with a plastic kit for these guys?
Yeah, the problem is that they do have weird weapon options though.
Yeah.
I think I own like maybe 15 of those Chosen.
Sure.
And they're really hard to use.
Yeah, I don't ever actually use them because it's like, well, this guy has a power axe and is that a plasma pistol? You're like, okay, that's like a 50-point model, like even at 12 points base.
The Berserkers dropped a point, which they're right there now. Noise Marines went down 2 points, and Noise Marines are still.
man.
Terminators dropped 3 points.
Yep.
And
Also
then
really
the biggest
solid.
one, Obliterators, are down to 95 points. They
Which
dropped
was
20
massive.
points. And the new Obliterators now, before Obliterators weren't that great in combat, but the newest ones now, the new updated data slate,
They have power fists.
they have power
You
fists.
will be seeing obliterators.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Possessed down 3 points. Warp Talons, Helldrakes and Mauler Fiends went down, and most of the characters went down. So I don't think anything went up. Chaos Space Marines just had massive points drops across the board.
Cornload of Skulls is another big winner in terms of how much it went down. I know
455.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
and I don't even think that's the cheap. That's the right way to run it, not the cheap way to run it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just super solid.
Yep. And sorry, Orcs, the Stampa is still stupid at whatever points it is.
I don't even know. Just bad.
It's just depressing. It's just bad. It's just depressing.
Did you build one out of a flower pot? I'm sorry, you never get to use that masterpiece. And I'm sure it is a masterpiece, knowing Orc players.
Yeah, for sure. But Chaos. First of all, we have the demon weapons. And again, these are difficult to pronounce. These are super cool weapons. But the problem with them is you roll at the very start of the fight phase, and on a 1 you suffer a mortal wound. Or no.
On a 1 you just can't fight.
You can't fight.
You can't use it.
Yeah.
You can use another weapon if you want, but you can't use that weapon.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm sorry.
And
Yeah.
some of these replace both of your melee weapons.
Yeah.
Like
So-
a lightning claws. So.
Time to
Yeah.
headbutt people.
Yeah, that feels
That's a good point. Actually, it would be better if you suffered a mortal wound because whatever, I'll take it. Unless it's a one character.
Totally.
But you're right. Actually, not being able to fight with that is kind of a big deal.
Some of them are pretty cute though.
Yeah. So which one's some of your favorite ones?
Well, I mean, I guess it just kind of depends on what you're playing against a lot. But there's the Tzeentch Power Sword, and that one you can't take invuln saves against, which is pretty decent.
Yeah.
It's AP3, so I like that. I think the Talons, like, I really want to like them because you can get up to 6 extra attacks.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you roll a 1, you get no extra attacks. But I mean, that's solid multi-damage. I do like that a lot of these are multi-damage too, which
Yes.
is something that Chaos and even Marines to some extent too
Just fell behind on.
Yeah, they have a lot of 1 damage weapons on their characters, which means they're not killing anything.
They fail to kill like IG characters a lot of the times.
Yeah.
they don't have enough damage.
So these all look good on Demon Princes. So we talked about like the Slaanesh Talons on a Slaanesh Demon Prince. Tharos and Rael, they are a strength user, AP -2, 2 damage, reroll the wound roll, and add the result of the demon weapon roll to your model's attack characteristic, which is good. But I think you pointed out, if they roll at 1, that's a sad phase because they can't use those, and it's a bummer, right? And so it may be the risk for on a Demon Prince is a little bit too much.
Yeah, I mean, and Demon Princes die. I mean, I know a lot of people hate Demon Princes, like playing against them.
Yeah.
But as someone who's played with like 5 in a list, I know that as soon as the Demon Prince commits to attacking something, it's dead the next turn.
Yeah.
Unless I've like already won the game.
Yeah.
In which case, I don't care. But yeah, they die so quick, and if they don't get to accomplish their goal before they die, then that feels even worse.
Yep. Yes, for sure. So some of these weapons, then, really, they make more sense. Less on Demon Princes, and what would you be taking them on? Just like
a Chaos Lord.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, they've got a reasonable number of attacks, and especially they've got the
Hateful Assault
now too. So something like even that Power Fist. If you've got 5 attacks on the charge,
the Fist of Decay, yeah,
it's flat 3 damage, always wounds on a 2-up. You're -1 to hit, but you're hitting on 2s anyways. And there's a lot of ways around that as a Chaos player.
Always wounds on an unmodified 2, and you're always AP -3 and 3 damage, and that's better than a Thunder
It's
Hammer.
good.
That's really good. Yeah.
Especially because it's 12 points for a Power Fist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And now you have more ways to get that Lord into combat.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I really like about the demon weapons and the relics in this book in general, they're all counted as part of the Artifacts of Chaos, which means anything that you can do to get additional relics from the Artifacts of Chaos list, you can get this. So like Red Corsairs, their Warlord trait actually lets you take an extra relic, which is kind of interesting and cute. So you get 2 free ones, so to speak, and then you can take up to another 2 if you wanted to.
Yeah.
So you have access to just a lot of relics, which is great.
Yeah.
Which is what they want us to have. They want us to do that. It feels like it. Anyway. They're pushing relics like crazy. Like sacred
Both
relics.
In Marines and in
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me too, because in Vigilus, the Black Legion, to get more relics, you have to pick which relic tree you want. But here you don't have to. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think that's
cool.
really cool.
That's very cool.
And the modeling opportunities too are super cool. You basically, you want to take a Chaos Lord and make him cool. Well, let's see. You can take I like the Nurgle Fist of Decay. You can make a super cool Chaos Chaos Lord. The sword, the Tzeentch sword, Kodak. the Boundless, which is a power sword. There's a lot of really interesting things you can do here to make cool Chaos Lords. In fact, they all feel like Demon Prince is one thing, but these feel like Chaos Lords artifacts or demon weapons.
Yeah, which is cool. Which is really cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it makes more sense for a Heretic Astartes to be using a demon weapon rather than a demon prince who's like, I'm already a demon.
demon.
Also,
No,
I have a
agree.
demon weapon. You know, like kind of one of those things. Like I like it thematically better on a lord, anyways.
That does make sense. Yeah, demon holding a demon.
I mean,
a
it
demon
happens. It
weapon is
definitely happens, but-
yeah, but it's a possessed weapon. It's
Yeah.
not a
Yeah, and I think a lot of these relics are really cool, like word bearers. I guess to sort of spoil.
Yeah, let's go into
section.
word.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go into word bearers. So those are demon weapons. Let's go into word bearers. Word bearers they're just they have the what's their legion trait? It's pretty bad.
So they have and they shall know no fear.
Oh,
Essentially, is their legion trait. So they get to reroll leadership. Like I want to make an argument for it, like because I feel like maybe I should try, but it's not great.
Yeah.
If you're running kind of elite units and they have high leadership, especially like if you're bringing Dark Apostles, things
Yeah.
like that, then you can get some rerolls on like leadership 10.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just not that great,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
yeah.
It's just an edge case for you to actually be taking a leadership role that is going to be devastating.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Now the warlord traits. So again, every single one of these legions has warlord traits, relics, and stratagems. And so the exalted possession. I think word bearers are. If you want to run possessed, and actually, it's what's interesting about it is you could see the types of models or units they want you to use.
Oh, totally.
With each one of these traits. And word bearers are about possessed, I think. Is that fair to say? It
I
feels
think
like
that's pretty fair to say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exalted Possession is an interesting warlord trait where the warlord gets possessed and demon keywords. They get +1 strength and attack and +1 of their movement. That is really cool. You can basically take a Chaos Lord and make them a possessed and a demon.
Yeah.
With +1 strength and attack. And again, this is a warlord trait. So you could give him one of those relics we talked about earlier as well.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
So this is really cool because you'll be moving that warlord typically with possessed units as well. So any other warlord traits you think that are kind of interesting for word bearers?
Master of the Union is also
Yeah.
another one.
Yeah,
That's
that's what I was gonna
really
point out.
solid. +1 attack just for being close.
Oh yeah, yeah.
For demon units, but
Which
for
possessed
demon.
are.
Which possessed are. Yeah. So you can make a really dirty
Yeah.
possessed bomb, especially if you use the Vigilus detachment. You can get that really gross because they have a stratagem that gives you an extra attack too. So it really helps to mitigate the fact that they only have D3 attacks.
Yeah.
Because that means a 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It first looks weird. It's
When
like-
you really need it.
yeah,
it means
you're
one.
like, oh, yeah, that's one whole attack each. That's great.
Yeah.
But then you can get yourself back up to 3, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and you can do Rebeard Host on that that possessed unit and give a
Yeah.
+1 to their damage.
So if you like possessed, and honestly, I think if I was going to do possessed, I would probably go get the Galvorbach 30K models because those are really, really
The
good.
only problem is they're really big.
Are they big? Are they bigger? They're
They're
bigger than
huge.
Are
they're
they?
they're bigger than the
greater possessed.
than the greater possessed. Yeah, Galvorbach.
damn.
They very much fill up a Terminator base.
I didn't realize they were that big. That's too
yeah,
bad.
that's unfortunate.
Yeah, because the greater possessed models that they only have 2 of them now that are in that latest box set, but you can get them in the new Get Started box set. Those things are freaking awesome.
Oh yeah, those are.
But
great
they're greater
models.
possessed or not possessed. Which I don't know. What's the difference between the two? Like, tell me the
like the lore reason.
yeah. Well, what's the unit reason between a greater possessed and a possessed?
Well, so the greater possessed is a character.
Oh, it's a single character. Gotcha.
It's a single character, and it functions a lot like a demon herald. So Legion demon units get +1 to their strength
Okay,
when
got
they're
it.
close to it.
Got it. So
But
you would
they're 60 points now. They're not. They're
it
not
would
too bad.
lead possessed. It wouldn't necessarily be. Yeah, you don't have a unit of it. So having 2 is fine then.
You can bring them in a unit of up to 3 though. They're kind of like lieutenants from Space Marines.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
One of the cool relics for word bearers is the Malefic Tome, which you get +1 of your psychic tests, and you get to know 1 more power, which is not bad. So this is prescience, warp time. Remember, Chaos Space Marines have some pretty darn good psychic powers. Prescience is good. Warp time is always good. Delightful agonies. I mean, there's a lot of really good stuff here.
You could also make some interesting like Smash Captain kind of versions just with the Crown of the Blasphemer plus the Strat hexagrammic ward. So you could have like a 3++ Chaos Lord running around that once per the game he's just like, actually I rolled a 6.
Yeah.
You know, so like that's an interesting fun play on like somebody leading the charge and being able to survive up there.
I think the cool thing about the word bearers in the supplement is that their characters became super reliable. So like you said, you have the the bonus to cast. They also have a stratagem. It's 1 command point. If you fail your psychic test, you automatically pass it.
Oh, that's really good.
It can't be denied, and you take 1 mortal wound in return.
But that's that's
so
an
good.
unfailable warp time or an unfailable
Exactly.
anything.
Like you could fail, like re-roll a successful cast into a fail.
For 1 CP, you're going to get a power off no matter what.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it. That's
Basically.
that's all
you need
there
to
is
fail
it.
it first.
You need to fail it first, but I mean that just makes you so reliable.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really awkward.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because like if you're casting, warp time, you want to fail it so that you can use that so that they don't get a chance to deny it.
Exactly.
Oh,
and you're like, okay, what's the cost? 1 CP and a mortal wound on the psyker.
Yeah.
Done.
Yeah.
That's a warp time that you can do nothing about.
So actually, you wouldn't want that relic then, the plus
Not-
1 to
not on
cast.
that guy,
For
yeah.
that
Not
guy.
on that guy,
Not
yeah.
on that guy. Yeah, that guy. That's true. Yeah. The Apostle of the Dark Council is kind of cool too. You upgrade
That
one
one's
of your
great.
Dark
Yep.
Apostles to have the Dark Council ability, which lets them know enchant an extra prayer.
Yeah,
So
makes
they
them
got
a
multiple prayers,
Yeah.
which is totally like, the Apostle of the Dark Council, because it's basically giving what the Marines get already in
Yeah.
Faith and Fury, which we're not going to talk about, but casting 2 of those things, the Apostles are just good.
Yeah,
They're
it's
just really,
good.
really good.
They can also they have bonuses to their prayers, like they get it or like get to reroll. So like casting on a 2, rerolling, super good. You can also make a really interesting sort of like Smash Captain Light.
Yeah.
So if you give him, I forget the names of them, but basically you get an extra 2 attacks and your attacks have AP 4. And then you can also give him, I'm spacing, +2 strength if he's marked Corn.
Oh, okay.
Or +2 toughness if
Yeah.
he's marked Nurgle.
Yeah.
Then he's walking in, he's swinging it. If you give him like one of the relic maces,
Yeah.
just like from the book, like the black mace or the one that lets you reroll versus Imperium, which is super solid.
Yeah.
So you go in with your 6 swings, you're hitting, you're wounding, you have multi-damage, your AP 4.
Yeah.
It's kind of like just a nice, cute, like,
Yeah.
please don't charge me.
Yeah, for sure. And then Revered Horse, you want to go through that one? This is about possessed. So this is the word bearers possessed or greater possessed.
And that is use a stratagem in the fight phase. When a word bearer is possessed, unit or word bearer is greater possessed from the army is chosen to fight until the end of the phase. Add 1 to the damage characteristic of melee weapon models and the unit. That puts them to damage 3, right?
No, it puts him at 2, I believe.
I thought possessed were base 2, but
Greater possessed, aren't they D3?
Greater possessed are D3 for sure.
are possessed D3 as well.
Let's look it up. Nope, they're just 1 damage.
Damn,
AP2.
1 damage.
Okay.
Yeah, so it makes
okay.
them.
So it might be the AP2 that I'm remembering.
Yeah.
But a possessed at AP2 with 2 damage with this strat, that's for Primaris Marines. That's
Yeah.
going into Primaris Marines and doing some work.
Yeah,
For
it's,
sure.
it's super solid.
Yeah.
You also have some options to, not necessarily as word bearers, but you can still do it. It's like if you have a demon detachment, you can make it so that they have +1 to wound, and then the 6s are doing a mortal wound on top of that.
Oh, yeah.
And then if you combine something like Veterans of the Long War,
Yeah.
then you're getting it on a 5-up instead, and so you can just deal out a ton of mortal wounds and regular wounds.
It's gross.
too.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
gross.
Yeah, for sure. So this is the possessed bomb. This is the idea of the word bearers detachment. If you like possessed, and it's not even you can't deep strike possessed, right? They would be in a rhino or a
Yeah, so
a
that's
drill or
one of the strong arguments for like putting them in a drill or maybe making them Alpha Legion too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Outside of word bearers, you can do Alpha Legion possessed.
Yeah.
Make a -2 to hit from
Yep.
a prayer
Yep.
on top
Yeah.
of the thing. Get the 9-inch pregame move, then
Yeah.
their 7-inch move, and then warp time for another 7 inches.
Yeah.
And then you charge and pile
Yeah.
in. And yeah.
It gets pretty gross.
Yeah, for sure. It's awesome. And then you mentioned Hex Chromatic Ward.
Yep.
That is, what is that one?
Auto pass. You can use a once per character per game, but
1
after
CP.
failing a save, you pay 1 CP and you go, that's a 6.
And I've used that in a game before, and it feels really good. Like, because
That
it's
is
it's like the
so-
1 dice, and you're like, oh well, I'm dead if I don't pass. Well, too bad I did. So
That's really, really cool.
and they have a 4-up invuln save base too. So it's
So the word bearers have
nice.
auto passing saves and also auto passing psychic tests.
Yeah.
And also buffs to possessed, meaning possessed can be better. And yeah, they just basically you can make a really tough character out of these things.
Yeah.
So word bearers is to me is a legion that I having read 30K, I despised him because, and no one likes Erebus. No one likes Erebus.
No one likes Erebus.
He's the worst. But they are the original bad guys. They are literally the worst of the Chaos. And to me, anyways, they are the ones
They started the whole thing.
They started the whole thing.
It's all their fault.
All they ever wanted was the truth.
That's true. That's all they wanted. But if you're a Word Bearers fan, when there are a lot of them, Joe, you like the Word Bearers. Lots of Chaos players love the Word Bearers. There's a lot here just for that.
Totally.
And that's just the first one. So let's go into Night Lords. And Night Lords
are good.
Yeah,
they're very good.
They're so good.
They are really good. So good.
And they also have a crappy Legion trait. And again, at this point, with this book, Legion traits, you're like, yeah, whatever. I don't care what the Legion trait. I mean, you literally ignore it half the time. Yeah. What's the Night Lord's Legion trait?
So basically, if you have a Night Lord's unit within 6 inches of another unit, they're -1 leadership, and it stacks, I believe, up to 3 times.
Yeah,
I really want leadership shenanigans to happen.
Yeah, I wish they mattered.
Doesn't.
But so many armies have so many ways to just
get around
it. Yeah, and everyone has the universal, 2 CP auto pass, and
it
feels kind of bad.
Yeah. So, what are some of the traits from the Night Lords, Warlord traits you like?
Well, one that I like, it's pretty cute. It's one with the shadows. So if you're entirely on or within a terrain feature, you get to add 1 to your saving throw and 1 to your invulnerable throw as well.
Bad. Okay.
So yeah, it's pretty solid. It goes, the invulnerable's only up to a 3-up.
Yeah.
But and that's not bad if you're on terrain. If you can kind of work around that, and like a lot of ITC missions, there's terrain in pretty predictable places.
Yeah.
People are going to be working around that, and that works in close combat too.
Oh, interesting.
Is the other thing. It's not only to ranged attacks.
Yep. Yeah.
So if you get on, and they have a lot of ways to get into close combat as well.
Yeah. And they also have a trait where they can charge when they fell back. So if you have a warlord that's kind of bouncing in and out of combat as well, 1 piece at a time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so the warlord traits are not bad. The relics, what are some relics you thought were kind of interesting?
So they've got a couple that are cute. One of them is the Vox Demonicus.
Mm-hmm.
So that you're basically getting rid of people's auras, which is super nice.
Pretty good.
They haven't FAQ'd yet, to my knowledge, how that interacts if there's 2 units with the Vox Demonicus within 6 inches of each other, how that works. But
But who turns off whom?
Who turns off whom?
But
so that one's kind of cute. There's a lot of like really disruptive things they can do. There's Talons of the Night Terror that just gives you some extra attacks when you fight, which isn't awful.
Mm-hmm.
And then Misery the Meek is another one. If you have a Demon Prince or something like that is wounded, you can heal it D6 wounds, and then it also gets an extra D3 attacks. Yeah, and even just taking that for the extra D3 attacks isn't the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And the Stormbolt plate also, you get a 2+ armor save, and you always count as being in cover, which is kind of cool.
Yeah,
so
that one is
that's sort of
cool
like, you can always basically... that one is it says infantry only in a lot of these, and I feel like it's that they're trying to promote Chaos Lords with jump packs.
Yeah, you want them to be in there.
Yeah,
especially like the fallback and charge. That's really cute.
Yeah,
especially with the ability to prevent people from falling back from you.
That's true.
And you can take Lord Discordance as Night Lord HQs, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Lord
you can.
Discordants are
So
good.
that's the other, because you can take Misery the Meek on a Lord Discordant as well.
Yeah,
and that's not bad.
And those are they're not easy to kill. They're obnoxious. The Lord Discordants they're little heat-seeking missiles too, but cool. All right, so stratagems. And this is where I think the Night Lords really do tend to shine. And my favorite is Vox Scream. At the end of the movement phase, you select a model within 18 inches. The enemy units cannot use their aura abilities. Mm-hmm. It shuts down aura abilities within 18 inches. That is really, really good. You shut down a Chapter Master. You shut down... Farios, you shut down. Space Marines require so many auras that you basically shut that stuff down.
Yeah,
that's really good.
A lot of those named characters have multiple auras too.
Yeah,
if you're shutting down Azrael, you're shutting down his reroll to hit and his invulnerable.
Oh yeah,
so like that's good. That's really good. It's not just pick one aura. It's none of them.
None of the auras work. Yeah. That is enough. If you're a Chaos Space Marine player, you may really want to consider taking a Night Lord's detachment just to get that Vox Scream. Because against certain armies,
plus we have come for you.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
So we have come for you. Talk about that.
So use this stratagem at the start of your opponent's movement phase. Select one Night Lord's unit from your army that is not a vehicle until the start of your next turn. Enemy units within 1 inch of that unit cannot fall back unless they have Titanic or
vehicle keyword. Yeah.
So, that screen. That's really cute. I'm going to, I don't even have to now tri-point you. I can just touch you and you can't fall back. And then on my turn, I'm going to go ahead and fall back using hit and run.
Yep.
Another 1 CP strat to
hit and run. Yep.
Be able to fall back and charge.
Yep.
So Raptors, warp talons, they're dancing all around, and people can't get away from them.
And they can still bad touch vehicles, right? They can still shut down artillery or any of those kinds of things.
And the other thing too that I think is really important here is, a lot of times I ask myself, okay, that's a good melee unit, or like that's great. I'm in melee and I can keep them there, but how do I get there? Neither of those stratagems actually require you to be infantry to use them. So things like Helldrakes can charge in there, and they move so fast. And they can get in there, touch things. They can't fall back. The other thing, and Helldrakes, I love just 3-pointing things with Helldrakes.
Yeah.
Like it's fun, and now you don't even have to 3-point. And just anything you can get touching, especially big screen units, you're good. The other thing too.
What the We Have Come For You, though, it says the Helldrakes are vehicles, are they not?
Helldrakes are vehicles?
Yep. So you can't use
that's right. You can't use it on that one.
Yeah. But that's why you have like Raptors or Talons. But Helldrakes can use Vox Scream, and Helldrakes can use Hit and Run.
Yes.
And you can also Raptor Strike as well for your infantry to actually make sure they get in there. So that's rolling 3d6 on the charge instead of just 2d6.
Yeah, and if you manage to get into a terrain piece, because you already have the 3d6, let's say you really need to get there, or you want to get another unit there.
Yep.
In addition to that, you can jump into a deep strike into a terrain piece and get +2 on the
and Raptors
on the
dropped
roll.
in points. Raptors are
Raptors
still aren't
are
great.
15. Yeah, I don't think Raptors are worth it at 15 points.
I think Warp Talons.
Warp Talons are super solid.
Talons. Got it.
Warp Talons are
to me, they're almost the same. I get it. Yeah, the Raptors are the Warp Talons are the ones with double claws, right?
Yes.
And the Raptors have a pistol and a chainsword. Yeah. So those because the Raptor Strike, it says Raptor Strike, but it is a jump pack.
Just a jump pack. Yeah. And if you take a Host Raptorial detachment as well, and you get their Warlord trait, you get +2 inches to your charge. So it's +2. So you only need a 7-inch on 3d6, which is not impossible to fail, but
hard. It's hard.
It's hard. Yeah, it's hard.
You worked hard to fail that one.
Yeah,
good job.
Exactly.
So a unit of Warp Talons can just be really obnoxious. I mean,
and you can be dropping multiple.
And in fact, you almost want to, those really stronger screens and stuff like that maybe don't hit as hard back. You can drop in there, do something, like you said, jump out of them, you hit and run out, charge something else, lock that thing down. This is just disruptive as heck. It's a very disruptive detachment with box screen as well.
I really appreciate the disruption that it provides.
Yeah, I mean, the simplest thing, I guess, would be just take 3 Helldrakes and an Air Wing detachment and give them Night Lord and just do the Vox thing. And then, the hit and run as well. So that was the simplest, but I kind of think Warp Talons they're really good plastic kits. They're fairly new too.
They're a pain to paint, but...
Well, because it's got all that gold banding, but...
Yeah.
Yeah. Night Lords. It's awesome. All right. So let's move on to Alpha Legion. Alpha Legion has a really good Legion trait. -1 to hit is really good. And someday that will get changed for them because we don't see that. The Space Marines, they've done away with that. And unfortunately,
give us this one thing, please.
But it's okay for them to keep it right now.
Yeah. So if the Word Bearers were kind of like around possessed, and the Light Lords, I think we could say Warp Talons and Helldrakes are kind of the interesting things you can make detachments. What do Alpha Legion have? What's the Alpha Legion kind of thing?
Everything, sort of.
They're just really good at just
they're good at everything.
Yeah.
They are.
They actually had some like really cute rules in 40K where you could actually take 30K, where you could take other people's special units that were unique to their army.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's really just like kind of
they can do
sabotage, subterfuge,
Yeah, and if you wanted to make to be an Alpha Legion player is to kind of embrace all chaosy things and kind of give it a little spin on it. And I think the conversion opportunities would be really, really cool because you can almost make them less demon and more just normal looking dudes, or use a lot of 30K models.
Yeah, totally.
Their Warlord trait Clandestine is a -1 to hit, which means then the Warlord gets a -2 to hit. And you put that on like Lord Discordant, for example, and a -2 Lord Discordant is really, really good.
Yeah, you're looking at interesting things.
Yeah, Clandestine is good. What else is good for Warlord trait?
I Am Alpharius is cute.
It's always good.
Yeah.
You're a little limited in terms of how many characters you take now. Back in 7th edition, that was super cute because your characters that were in the like squads, like you can make a cultist leader your warlord. It's like you had to kill like literally everything on the board.
Yeah, everything had a character. Yep.
And so now it's not quite as difficult to get it, but it's still super cute. The other one I kind of like too is Headhunter. You can make kind of a cute like pseudo sniper character with that. There's a relic that lets you shoot some things, and Yeah. So
Target a character even if they're not closest. Yeah. Faceless Commander is kind of cool. At the end of the movement phase, you can pick it up and move it within 3 inches of Alpha Legion infantry. So you take your little Alpha Legion character, and if he's got some kind of buffs or some kind of interesting things, you can bounce him around the board. I just like anything that allows you to just do movement like that.
Oh, yeah.
Board movement.
Oh, I actually...
Well, Master of Diversion's really good, too.
I hadn't actually thought about Faceless Commander. That's super cute for deep striking things.
Yeah.
Because it's at the end of your movement phase.
Yeah.
So you can deep strike in like a unit of Terminators and then just take like a regular Chaos Lord.
Yeah, and then just
he's right next.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually super cute.
Yeah.
Especially with, they have a stratagem to give yourself an extra Warlord trait or an extra character Warlord trait.
Yeah.
Which is, that's...
Oh, and and the Master
cool.
Master Diversion before the first turn.
Redeploy.
3 units to redeploy. Redeploy is really powerful.
Yep.
So there's a lot of movement stuff here with Alpha. As you would expect, that's kind of their
totally.
shtick. So.
Totally.
All right, what are the relics that you like?
So, like I said, the Sniper character is kind of cute. I like Viper's Bite.
Yeah.
Just because of that. Replaces your Combi Bolter.
Yeah.
You can get up to 4 shots, 2 damage each, strength 5, AP 3. It's not awful.
Yeah.
And then, there's like the Drake Scale Plate. That's great on something like a Demon Prince.
Yeah, 2+ save. Yeah.
Yeah, give them
they take
2+
a mortal
save.
wound and a 5, they don't lose it. That's really good. Yeah.
And then, of course, Hydra's Whale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just so good.
Yeah, once per battle at the start of the battle round, this relic basically, you activate it and your opponent has to spend CP to use a stratagem. When an opponent spends CP to use a stratagem roll, a D6 on a 4-up, they have to use extra CP. So it's like...
It's like the Assassin, but you don't have to do it first round.
Yes.
Which is really good because a lot of armies aren't dumping all their CP load on that first round. They're doing it round 2 or round 3.
Yeah.
And this one you're like, okay, this is a round that you're going to use all your CP. I'm going to go ahead and use this.
Yep.
And go ahead and spend more.
It's almost worth it just to have... It's
I
almost worth
agree.
to have the Alpha Legion attachment just for that dumb thing. To say, because everyone has most armies have a plan for CP, stratagem usage, and there's very few that are lean on the stratagems now. So you just wait for that turn when they want to do a bunch of stuff. I'm thinking like Gene Stealer cults or orcs or things like that just have a ton of CP usage.
Even other Chaos players.
Even other
Chaos players are notorious for just chewing through CP.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
all of
for
it.
sure.
2 turns. It's gone.
If that. Yeah, it's like a good 1.5. Just all of it gone.
Yep. Then we have stratagems, and the stratagems for Alpha Legion are really good too. So what I like is Conceal. Basically, you pick an Alpha Legion infantry unit. Until the end of the phase, it cannot be shot at unless it's the closest target. So again, we're going back to that, like, can't target this unless it's the closest target mechanic that you're seeing. Now, Chaos Space Marines have it with Alpha Legion. It's 2 CP. So this is pretty nice.
Yep.
It's super solid.
The Obliterators, Berserkers, Noise Marines, anything that is an infantry unit, you probably can put this on.
Yeah, that you want to protect.
It's funny that
definitely.
Obliterators are still infantry. That's like really,
They're
really
massive,
good.
but they're infantry.
huge
They're
thing.
like Terminators,
Yeah.
kind of. I mean, Centurions are infantry too, right?
they're like, I think Obliterators, the new Obliterator model is about the size of a Centurion.
Yeah.
Which, they're really pushing what it means to be infantry, but they're infantry.
Yeah.
Monsters like almost don't exist in this edition, I feel like.
I know.
No, they don't
Yeah.
really.
So,
no. Scramble the coordinates. This is really good. Basically, it's for 1 CP in your opponent's movement phase when they're setting up units as reinforcements, meaning they've committed to bring these things in as reinforcements. So, but before they're placed on the table, anything, you can't be set up within 12 inches of any Alpha Legion unit.
So good.
Rather than 9. So this essentially, I mean, people take Space Marine lists with, not infiltrators. What do they call them? They're infiltrators.
Yeah, infiltrators.
Yeah, infiltrators,
Yeah.
just for this ability to push out deep strikes.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's essentially what this does. And if you've got a bunch of cultists, you've got just a bunch of stuff kind of scattered through your board.
Yeah.
By the way, you do have that redeploy strat. So, I mean, for the very beginning of the game, if you need to set things up because you've got, I feel like there's this one right now. This is really, really good.
It's really defensive. Yeah.
Oh, you're going to bring some stuff in? Great, 12 inches. So you don't get that charge out of the deep strike anymore unless they've got a lot of bonuses to doing so.
Yeah, and Forward Operatives pushes that even further up because you get that free 9-inch move
Yeah.
at
Yes.
the beginning of the game.
Yeah, the classic, which they changed a couple times, but yeah, Forward Operatives is good for sure.
Yeah.
What else do we have that you like with Alpha Legion?
I like Ambush.
Ambush.
Ambush is really solid.
Yeah. After an enemy is set on the battlefield, pick an Alpha Legion and shoot at it.
And I like it because it's an intercept that's 18-inch and not at a -1.
Yeah.
That's really good. And then
18 minus instead of 12, for 2 CP.
And then Feigned Retreat makes me salty.
Oh yeah, Feigned Retreat's great.
That's 2 CP for me, and it's 1 CP for them. Why? Why?
yeah.
Shoot when you get a fallback.
Fall back and
It's
shoot.
really powerful.
Yeah.
So that's really good.
And even Sabotaged Armory will have its situational uses because you add 3 to the result of the explodes roll.
Oh,
and they can't
totally.
re-roll it. So things that explode on a 6, that's a 3-up. So 4 out of 6, you're going to get it. If it's a 5-up explode, then that's even better. So
that's actually funny, yeah, especially with
Shuts down Zombie Knight.
It shuts down Zombie Knight, yeah. The Tyrannus Knight that gets back up, it can't get back up out of explodes. Yep. So Alpha Legion, also Dreadnoughts. The Feigned Retreat's really good for like Dreadnoughts and things like that. So
these are all good.
Yeah.
These are all good.
Yeah, and with Alpha Legion, you could literally take a detachment of cultists and push them out and basically do you can't deep strike within 12 and just give yourself, with forward operatives, you can push out a bunch of cheap stuff as a really, really aggressive screen against deep strike. I actually like that if you're running, if you want a small detachment just to do some screening stuff, but obliterators work really well in Alpha Legion as well.
Yeah, take the cultists and the obliterators.
Yeah, why not?
And then take the obliterators with the detachment from the Vigilus Ablaze, where they take them maybe with some havocs, where you get to shoot at them. If they go first and they move, you get to shoot at them. That's a fun strat. And then you can shoot at them if they deep strike. I mean, it just, you get a lot of cool effects on those models.
Yeah, especially being able to push them up 9 inches too.
Totally.
24-inch range is a lot less bad, feels a lot less bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's jump into Iron Warriors. Iron Warriors basically has kind of an Imperial Fist trait. They ignore cover, which at the time was like, eh. Now I'm like, it's not bad.
Yeah,
especially with them handing out cover as a trait.
Yeah, ignoring cover is pretty good. I mean, it's still half of what they needed. They needed they needed something else, but that's okay. I mean, ignores cover's not bad.
Hey, they get bonuses versus buildings.
That's true.
Yeah, calm down, Mark.
Yeah, it's so great.
Fortifications, man.
You know what? If they had updated the Legion traits as well as all this other stuff, essentially this would be an all new codex. And in fact, some would say they probably should have, but maybe they don't want to tip their hand as to what's going to be coming. I don't know. But so Iron Warriors to me feel like they're Havocs and heavy weapon shooting kind of stuff. So
totally.
What are some of the traits you think are kind of interesting?
I think the best one to me, hands down, is Demonsmith.
Demonsmith, okay.
So any demons within 6, a 6 to hit gives you an extra hit.
Yeah.
And all of the demons went down in price, like demon engines. Venom crawlers, I think, were already okay.
Yeah.
And they went down in price. I think they're actually pretty solid, especially because their guns are assault, multi-damage. They're pretty solid. And then obliterators, too.
They're a cult of destruction unit, so...
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
So it works out really well for them.
Are demon engines, are they vehicles as well?
Yes,
okay.
they are.
So you could also go Siege Master, reroll once to wound against within 6 inches, Havocs in vehicles. So as another trait, that would be interesting as well. So,
that's true. Yeah.
Cool. Relics. The relics for Iron Warriors. What do you think?
I'm honestly not super impressed with a lot of them.
Yeah.
But Insidium isn't bad. So you get to add 1 to your strength, toughness, and wounds.
Yeah.
So that's great on a Disco Lord.
Yeah.
Because now he's even harder to kill.
Yeah.
I also really like the Techno-Venomous Mecha Tendrils.
Okay.
So you get an extra 4 attacks, and when they hit, you do a mortal wound.
Nice.
Yeah, that's...
So on a Disco Lord or even a Warpsmith, they hit on 2s. So that's pretty much 4 mortal wounds for free.
Yeah, it's solid. Really solid.
Cool. And then strats, really, I think, Methodical Annihilation, which just has a great name. But in the shooting phase, you pick an Iron Warriors unit to shoot with. Pick one of the following effects. You can reroll damage rolls. You can reroll any of the dice to determine the type characteristic of weapons in the models the unit is equipped with. So this is really confusing the way it's written.
Yes.
But essentially, what it feels like it's just you're rerolling number of shots and things like that.
Also, you have, for 1 CP, Rampant Technovirus, which lets you reroll the damage, wounds, the damage, the AP, and the strength of the gun. Because the obliterators are fixed at 6 shots.
Got it.
So I think that's like the...
Oh, this is rerolling number of shots.
one.
Got it.
Yep.
One is rerolling shots, and one is rerolling the actual... Sorry, I got the
Yeah, any are all D3, and they're...
Yeah.
Those D3s, they have a lot of them. So, definitely helps.
That's great.
Yeah, so a lot of it's just shooting. Like Iron Warriors is which you would expect. It's a shooting army. That's essentially what they do really well.
And their units can pick up cultists and have them eat bullets. which is good. They have grout shields.
Yeah.
For Iron Warriors.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dour duty. Yeah. Dour duty is interesting. Until the end of the phase, when you resolve an attack with a ranged weapon against a specified unit, reduce the AP of the weapon by 1. So basically, you take a unit and you can reduce a lot of the incoming damage. Demon engines make a lot of sense for the Iron Warriors list because of this kind of thing.
Totally.
So, that's Iron Warriors. And Iron Warriors are, again, we're getting in the theme here is that some of the best units and some of the strats that buff those units are the units that are iconic to that legion.
Yep.
So, all right, so Emperor's Children. So the Emperor's Children, what are some of the traits and relics that we like from them?
So they have some interesting traits. They're mostly they're selfish, I guess, compared to a lot of the other ones. So it's like, well, I'm within close combat, reduce the number of attacks, or I get more attacks, things like that. So they just make you a better duelist, basically.
Yeah,
so it plays into that.
It's taking an HQ fantasy and making them really, really powerful. Yeah, versus the army-wide stuff. Yep. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So like Loathsome Grace is a warlord trait. Reroll charge rolls, add one of your warlord strengthening attacks when you charge or make a heroic intervention. So it's basic, but rerolling charge and adding one to strengthen attacks pretty good.
Which you actually get 2 extra attacks.
Oh.
Yeah.
Because of the charge.
Because of the charge, yeah. Which
is pretty nice.
Yeah, for sure. And then the relic, what do you think?
So there's the Armor of Abhorrence, which is nice because you can't be overwatched.
Really good.
So that can help.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And then the other one that's really great is Raiment of the Repulsive.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd bring that up.
Yeah, so it's just reroll everything, like reroll hit rolls, wound rolls, and charge rolls.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So on a Disco Lord, I keep saying Disco Lord, but on
a Lord Discordant,
they're a good target for a lot of buffs.
You take the biggest nastiest HQ and you make him an Emperor's Children Lord Discordant, all purpled out. Oh, and he's just a duelist, and he just runs through stuff.
Yeah,
nice.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Just runs over stuff.
All right, stratagems.
So I think one of the top ones is Honor the Prince. So you get to after you've made your charge roll, you get to change one of the results to a 6.
Yeah, that's really good.
Super good.
That's really good.
Super good. You get like 32 out of 36 successful charges at a deep strike that way.
Yeah.
If you take the Host Raptorial, so you get the +2, you can't fail it.
Yep.
Because your minimum is a 9 on double 1, which is stupid.
Oh.
So I really like that. Then there's Combat Elixirs as well. So you get either +1 strength, toughness, attacks, or move, or +2 move.
Yeah. What about the excoriating frequencies?
Yeah, that's another one that's really cute if you're running Noise Marines, because they're troops for Emperor's Children.
Yep. Yeah.
So they get bumped up to strength +1, so strength 5 for the Sonic Blasters, and I think strength 9 for the Blastmasters.
Yeah.
And then +1 damage. So
which is super
D3
good.
+1 on the Blastmasters and 2 damage on the other guns.
Strength 5, 2 damage Sonic Blasters, ignoring cover.
3 shots each, assault. Yeah.
That's really, really good. So you see the Noise Marines. So with Emperor's Children, is like, I want to take this one thing and make it ridiculous. A ridiculous duelist, and I use Noise Marines as well.
Yep.
Totally makes sense. All right. The very last one is the World Eaters. So Warlord traits, what do we like?
I think Violent Urgency isn't bad. You get to add one to your advance rolls and charge rolls.
Okay.
So that makes you just a little bit more reliable out of deep strike.
Yeah. Or Berserkers coming out of a drill.
Or exactly,
that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Nice.
And I think that's huge to be able to do.
Yep.
And then Battle Lust is kind of cute. You get to heroically intervene 6 inches instead of 3.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, you can make some characters that are pretty gross. And I think that's a really easy one to underestimate. But it plays with your opponent's head, the way that they can end charges and do things like that so that you can't pile in.
Sure, yeah. Some of the relics are okay. There's Gorefather, which is a chain axe replacement, which is pretty decent. But for the most part, these are Banner of Rage with a priest model. You can add one of the attacks of friendly world eaters within 6 inches, which is bad if you have that would be the Dark Apostle, right? You give them that. So that's not bad because you're going to have a Dark Apostle probably with Berserkers to begin with.
You should have one in every list, honestly.
You really should. So, stratagems.
Okay, so my favorite is the most fluffy, I think, and it's the Red Butchers.
Oh, yes.
So it basically turns a unit of Terminators into a unit of Berserkers. So they get to pile in and fight twice.
Yeah, which is really cool.
You also add one to the strength,
cool.
too. So
yes.
You take a unit of Terminators, you add one to the strength, and they fight twice.
It's great. Yeah. Yeah. So because you can take a super cheap squad with just chain axes and
they just start swinging.
Yeah, they just start swinging, and they can fight 3 times if you feel like spending just a god awful amount of command points.
Yeah. And you can give. I mean, you're right. You go cheap. You can give them all plasmas, right? if you want to get nuts.
Yeah, you could do that too.
But you probably don't want to. You just want to give them chain access and go for it.
Yeah, I think that squad is like the perfect example of how to not play chaos, like so to speak, because you can spend like 10 command points
on just
in one go. Yeah, on just that one squad.
Fight 3 times, have more AP, have higher strength.
Yeah,
and then pile in 6 inches every time you pile in.
Yep.
Yeah,
like think about how many times if they're fighting 3 times, and each time they get to pile in twice at 6 inches, how far that unit is going to move.
Yeah,
like it doesn't matter what was within 12 inches of them. Like they're going to touch your whole army if they get the opportunity.
And so you mentioned was Wild Fury for 1 CP. You can improve the AP by 1. So this chain axes again. And then some of these are just awesome. Stoke the Nails. Non-cultist infantry or biker unit fights. Deaths of the False Emperor triggers against everyone.
Yep.
And on a 5 against Imperium.
Triggers
so
on
right.
a 5+. It's
so
good.
you take your 10 really nasty Terminators that you've always wanted to do, and if you can't make them work with World Eaters, then there's no hope for the Terminators, I think, because there's, like you said, you can dump so much CP.
Yeah, and they can even take the banners. They get to reroll their charge, so it's an 8-inch rerolling. It's not that reliable, but it could be worse.
Yeah. And I want to see somebody out there with a beautifully painted World Eaters Terminator unit, like, and I kind of want them in the classic white and blue, like, just so that when you do all the blood effects, with them, and just have them modeled as just ripping through like people on their bases and stuff like that, that'd be so cool.
Subtle blood effects, like I think just a little.
Oh yeah, like not all over.
They don't need to look like Carrie on prom night.
Well, yeah, you should be able to see the white and blue.
Yes, you should. All right, let's take a break. Well, we just finishing up that was the rest of the Legion. So let's take a break and let's hear a word from our sponsor, TraderA.com. If you're like most Warhammer players, you own a ton of models. At one time, you had big plans for these models, but now they just kind of sit, gathering dust, unused and unloved. It's time to clean out your closet of shame. Visit TraderA.com and get cash for your used models. Trader A is run by Captain A, someone who's been in the community a long time and has done a lot to grow the hobby. He's also a personal friend of the show. Unopened boxes, models on a sprue, half-built models, primed, painted, even bits have value. The process is simple. Send him a list of what you have, he'll send you a quote, you pack it up, send in your stuff, and he'll get you cash. You can shop around, but you're going to find that Trader A gives you 40% more than the other guys. You want it quick, you want to get rid of it, visit TraderA.com. Get cash to buy the stuff that you really want. TraderA.com. Sell your models and get your cash quick and easy. All right, we're back. Okay, so if you can't tell, I as an Eldar player and Joe as a Chaos player, and Sean as you're going to be getting Dark Angels really, really soon.
Yeah, and I'm excited.
This is exciting stuff.
Yeah,
I think Drukhari kind of got the short end of the stick in a lot of ways, but between Craft World Eldar stuff and Chaos Space Marines, there's a lot of really good stuff in Psychic Awakening. Is it as good as Space Marines? I don't know, but it lets you play the way you want to play, and it lets you play with units you haven't played before. Yep. So I gotta say it's kind of a win.
Yeah, I love being able to dust off those old models and put them back on the table and just have some fun.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see the armies that come out of it. Like, play against
it should
them.
be great.
It's going to be really cool.
And again, if this is a preview of the next round of codexes, and we can assume they're all going to be around rough Space Marine power level, that means everyone's going to have a ton of cool stuff to do.
Oh yeah,
it's a struggle for us to remember all that, but hey, if you want to. This allows you to indulge in whatever kind of hobby you want to go with and still be powerful. Mm-hmm. That's the dream. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to our show. We'd love to hear from our listeners, so please feel free to message us on Facebook or email us at thebattlehosts@gmail.com. If you'd like to support us, you can help us in a few different ways. You can tell your friends about us and like us on Facebook. You can subscribe to us on YouTube, and you can leave a review on iTunes, which does help to boost our listening audience. Finally, you can support us on Patreon at patreon.com/thebattlehosts. For as little as $1 a month, you can help us with the cost of running a show and staying engaged with the community. So thanks for listening to Battle Host.
Remember to be a better gamer
and build a better sub-faction.
Good night. Oh, I guess Matt always goes first.
Yeah. Is it remember to
be a better gamer?
be a better gamer?
I so we'll go
Build
this
a better
again.
community.
Yeah.
Or you can mix it up.
Actually, you go. Remember to be a better gamer, and then so start over again.
Yeah.
This will all be the outtakes.
Okay.
All right. So thanks for listening to Battlehosts.